Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a wonderful Monday night. Monday, June 14th, as the LA Galaxy get prepared to take on the Seattle Sounders. A bunch of off weeks, some international breaks, one MLS game this weekend. I know, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't know about it. I kind of didn't know about it either. We're going to talk about that, get you updated on some LA Galaxy news, talk about the tailgate that's coming up, full capacity coming up on Saturday as well. So a lot of stuff to get to, a lot of things to do tonight. To help me do all that is the panda himself, Mr. Kevin Baxter. Kev, how's it going, buddy?
You just got back from vacation, right? Maryland?
Maryland, North Carolina. Yes, I did. It was enjoyable. I know, and you got back into the country. We actually landed like 30 minutes apart from each other at LAX in two different terminals.
We did. I was in the Tom Bradley International Terminal coming back from El Salvador. 9 days in El Salvador. But you were on vacation. I was working. You were on vacation. How do you take a vacation from not doing anything?
Yeah, I know.
You were refreshed?
Yeah. No. I mean, yes and no. As I said on sort of on Thursday night, it was traveling with small children is exhausting. It's fun. It's a good time. But the joke is I need a vacation from my vacation. But that still feels semi-true. Is I need a vacation from my vacation.
Well, welcome back. I know you've been back for a while. I didn't like you said, we got back the same time a week ago. We've been back 1 week now. Yeah,
but like you said, you were working. You actually had an interesting assignment. It wasn't soccer related. It was surfing related. I think being it is an off week for the LA Galaxy and we're technically not, 100% back into the rhythm of the games that are going to hit here quickly. I think I can carve out a couple minutes. That way you can tell people about your assignment down in El Salvador.
Yeah, well, we went down to write about a guy named Brian Perez, who is the top Salvadoran surfer, and his escape from the gang life that killed his sister and killed his best friend, and how he was able to, through surfing, improve his family, improve himself, get away from the gangs. We also wrote about Catherine Diaz, a top female surfer in El Salvador who was killed recently by a lightning strike when she was training out at the beach. But the beaches in El Salvador are just off the hook. They're amazing. The waves are incredible. The surfing is fantastic. The government, this was really important for the Salvadoran government, this whole Surf City complex that they've started, and having the World Surf Games, which were the final qualifier for the Olympics. Having them there was a big deal for the government. They want to open Salvador up to tourism. They want to let people know that the whole gang thing is, that they're trying to control that. They're moving past that. They want the tourist dollars to come in. So they took really good care of us. We had a driver at our beck and call 24/7. And the reason for that, we were told, was COVID. They didn't want us using public transportation. We could walk wherever we wanted. We just couldn't take public transportation or a taxi. So we had a driver in a van ready for us. The hotel that we got was just a short walk from the beaches where the surfing was. The English and French teams were both at our hotel, so that was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Really, really humid.
Right.
You literally had to change your shirt 3 or 4 times a day. The humidity was just insane. But it's great for the surfers because the water is 85 degrees. It's like bath water.
Yeah, that sounds like it was
a lot
fun.
Of pupusas. A lot of pupusas.
That's a good thing. I mean, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the best part about that whole thing. So good. I'm glad. And it seemed like a successful trip in terms of you went down to do it. It seemed like that a lot of people were interested in the story. I saw there was some social media buzz about it, but a little departure for you. How did you even get hooked up with surfing Because you don't look like a surfer to me. I just my take. Just saying.
I am not a surfer. Only one of the Beach Boys was a surfer, which is the thing I find amazing. I'm not a surfer. One of the people I was interviewing got into this whole thing about what kind of beaches do you like, what kind of board do you have, and I'm like, dude, I'm not. I say, dude, that's as close as I get to being a surfer. But the whole thing started. I am going to Tokyo for the Olympics, and so a photographer at the paper and one of the photo editors said, why don't we do this series of athletes, and the world is your canvas. Find out where you want to go, what you want to write about. And so we came up with all these great ideas. We had a woman boxer in the Philippines. We had another woman boxer in Africa. I think she was in Mozambique. We had a member of the refugee team. The refugee team are athletes from countries that are, war-wracked countries like Syria and Afghanistan, who compete under the International Olympic Committee flag. They're the refugee team. We had an Afghani woman cyclist we were going to do. Turned out that the whole world as your canvas thing was not exactly true when it came time to price out these trips. And then it got down to, well, find out if there's anything in the region that you might do. So we had a weightlifter in Nicaragua we were going to go do, and we just literally couldn't get in there because of COVID.
Right.
We had some race walkers in Mexico, and that was going to be too expensive. So we wound up with the surfer in El Salvador. This was all this research that we had done. We found this guy, Brian Perez, who was really interesting. He did not make the Olympics. He lost on the penultimate day. But just to see the way the Salvadoran people reacted to him, he's a national hero, and he's a 21-year-old surfer. It was really cool to see. It was a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people listening to this program, a lot of Galaxy fans are Salvadorans. And I had a lot of fun in your country. And Salvador plays tomorrow, Tuesday, in their last game of the third round of World Cup qualifying. If they win, I'll be going back to El Salvador the 1st of September. Looking forward to that.
That'll be fun. Well, very good. Well, let's get to a little bit of LA Galaxy news. Let's start with something that happened over the weekend, Kevin. I was telling you about it. The blue, white, and gold pop-up shops that they have been putting together. This was the second one. This is independent Galaxy content and product producers, Kevin. So, it's none of it's associated with the team. There's a loose association with most of the stuff. Most of these things hint at the Galaxy. They aren't Galaxy related, 100%. But
some of them can't even use the logo, right? I mean, they use the kind of the shield, but
you can't. You can't use the logo, but it's one of those. I think as everybody figured out with Retros and Rosarios, right? The sort of throwback that unless it gets too big, if it gets too big, then the Galaxy and MLS might come after you and do some stuff. But for the most part, if it stays relatively grassroots, I think it only helps. And quite honestly, I think the LA Galaxy understand that this helps drive their own product too, that having these people and having these things do it creates a sense of community, and that community drives the soccer club, right? I mean, you can sort of see that. So, I was looking there and they had this lot, and my God, there were, I don't know how many shops, maybe 15 shops, 15 places that you could go to. I mean, they had lemonade there. They had, shirts and different designers for different things. I got so much stuff. I got a couple t-shirts. I got a scarf from the Outlaws. I bought a scarf from them because they're relatively new. I didn't have one for my wall, so I wanted to make sure that we got an Outlaws scarf on there. Have Galaxians, have most of the other supporters groups, so I wanted to get them. AFCHA ended up giving me a backpack of just their cool retro sort of throwback stuff. I went and saw Mike Gray was there, and Eric the Portuguese Hammer was there as well. So it was good to sort of see people. I took my kids, so that was fun. There was a lot. It was hot. It was about 90 degrees, which is always fun out in the sun on some tarmac. In my opinion, they have already outgrown that spot, Kevin. That's how successful this is. I would suspect, and I think it would be nice of the Galaxy to do this. I think that they need to put that on the parking lot at Dignity Health Sports Park, because that's an event, and that event could drive a lot of people to become fans or deepen the connection with fans and the club without too much hassle, I would imagine. At least that's my guess. We'll see if that ends up happening. Is one of those. It's sort of like, is that going to be one of the things that sort of drives things? Is that going to be one of the things that can make things happen? So, for me, that's sort of what I'm looking at is how the LA Galaxy can sort of help feed this this passion that the LA Galaxy have, that Galaxy fans have, and then the hole that is being filled by all these independent. I mean, first of all, the lemonade was excellent, if we want to point that out. We can look at a whole bunch of these things and sort of say, it's pretty amazing to see where it's happened. So it's a fun place, and I think that they did a good job. I think everybody did a good job. I got to talk to so many Galaxy fans. I got to say hi to so many people. And I think that's where we're at right now, is that this is an event that needs to not only grow, but it needs to be supported. And it doesn't have to be supported by the club in terms of the club comes up with their own version of it. Because I think that would be a ripping things off. You can't have that. You need to keep it as organic as possible, but the Galaxy need to allow it room to grow. So it's one of those things that we need to do. And I think we lost Kevin here. I'm going to try to see. Where Kevin is, we'll eventually get him back. It's okay. So that's where we're at. The LA Galaxy, this pop-up really does show that how deep and wide the support is for the LA Galaxy. It shows how interesting it can be for members of supporters groups to go there and show these different things. It can be interesting to see how we do, how we look at all these different things, at the pop-up event. But I think that this is an event that needs to grow. It needs to continue. They need to have more of it, and I have a feeling that it's been so successful that they're going to have that. So I think we got Kevin back. We get you back, Kevin?
Hi. Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. I was here. You disappeared.
It was you dropped out. I got a blue screen on my side. So
I got a blue screen on my side.
There we go. See, it was it.
You were in the middle. You were in the middle of going from name dropping to shaming the Galaxy for not hosting the event, and then
I wasn't shaming. I was just suggesting that they do that. So anyway, I got through all that. You didn't miss much. It was basically all the stuff.
How many people did you tell? How many people were there?
I don't know. I'm gonna.
You said like 300.
When I was there, it felt like there were at least 300 people there. And that was I was only there probably for an hour. This blue, white, and gold pop-up shop, if you haven't seen it, 1-2 Threads put it on. It is an amazing little thing that happens that is not a little thing. I don't want to belittle it. It is a big thing. It is a movement. And it's something I think that is only going to continue to get bigger and better. The content, the things that are being produced by independent Galaxy, whether it's podcasters or whether it's any of these products, Kevin, is in some cases a step above what the teams are putting out. So it's amazing. I'm a big fan. So hopefully they can do it again. We can see more of that.
Any beer?
I didn't see any beer. I'm sure there was if you wanted any. It was 90 degrees. So basically it's one of those where if you have a beer, it's like water. So it would help sustain you more than anything. But yeah, everybody was very respectful.
I associate craft beer with soccer. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
That is beer and soccer has always been a thing. Craft beer and soccer are a little bit newer, but still a thing. Yeah. So yeah, I would like that to be linked as much as possible as well. So, it was a lot of fun. So if we will do our best if there's another one to let you know when that is. Hopefully I'll be out there again. Although I don't know if my wallet can help me with that because I kind of spent a whole bunch of money here. Don't mind the noise in the background, but I got this awesome print of David Beckham, which if you're looking on the video side of things, you can see this. I mean, amazing stuff right here. And it was Guadino art is amazing. He does these and he has originals. I swear I'm going to go back and buy the original Robbie Keane one that he had that was like $175, but totally worth it. I think that print that I got was like $10. $10, Kevin. $10 for something that you can hang up in your room and be proud of. I mean, $10.
And say there's the owner of the team that had the biggest fine in MLS history.
That's that dude. That's dude right there, David Beckham, number 23 for the LA Galaxy, number 32 for AC Milan, or was it 23 for AC Milan as well? I can't remember. I think he flipped back and forth between that. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, so let's just say you wanted to buy an art print at an MLS stadium, Kevin. How much does this art print cost?
A lot more than $10.
A lot more than $10.
But you didn't find the Chicharito Galaxy scarf that I've been pining after.
We're gonna find it for you.
I saw a fan with one at the game. By the way, do you like this dark background? I feel like I'm podcasting from a forest or something.
I mean,
waiting for Bigfoot to appear behind me.
I mean, really, for you, anytime we can get more focus on your face, less on the background is probably a detriment to everybody. But we're going to allow it this time, so we'll go with it.
We'll try to brighten it up a little bit next time.
No, you don't worry about it. I think you're doing fine. Let's talk a little bit about Chicharito, though. And Chicharito.
Nice segue. That was good.
I try to do what I can. We've been talking about Chicharito and the fact that he hasn't been being mentioned for the national team. We talked about the fact that Tata Martino seems reluctant to call him in. We've talked about the fact that with his form, he may be one of the most informed Mexican strikers if they were to put him on the team, and maybe that would be, a boon for them if they were going to go ahead and play him in any of the World Cup qualifiers, Nation Leagues, any of that stuff. But there is a rumor out there right now, and it has not been confirmed. I've not seen a confirmation for it, that Tata Martino is placing Javier Hernandez, Chicharito, on the Gold Cup preliminary roster, which would seem to indicate to me, Kevin, that he's going to be on the Gold Cup roster if all of that is true.
Well, here's why it's true, and here's why it's a bad idea. Okay, both. It's true. It's probably true because Mexico is not scoring. They were held scoreless by Honduras. I think they were held scoreless in the first Nations League game in the semifinal. They've had trouble scoring. They're just not offensively potent right now. They had something like 70% possession against Honduras in the game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and didn't score a goal. So they need some help offensively. They have their A team, which they'll be rested this summer because they just finished Nations League and they're going to start World Cup qualifying. They're going to have 8 World Cup qualifiers in the fall. So those guys, the Chucky Lozanos, those guys will be rested. That means they're going to have to call some people up. Well, normally you might go to your young team, your U23 team. Well, those guys are going to be in Tokyo in the Olympics. So you have your A team not able to play. They need the rest. You have essentially your backup, your youth team. They're going to be in Tokyo. So Mexico they're down to, if you say each of those teams are 23 people, their top 46 guys are gone. They're not available. So I think you will see Chicharito get a look. I think that's good. Maybe he plays himself on the team for World Cup qualifying. That's a possibility. He's in real good form right now. It's a different Chicharito than the one we've seen before. I remember he was on the World Cup team not all that long ago, 2018, and started and played every game. So I think that would be a good thing. I think it's in the cards. I think they need players. The thing that might work a little bit against it is Chicharito is on the wrong side of 30 by a couple of years. He's been around the block. He's played a lot. Mexico, we talked about their scoring problems. They desperately need to start to rejuvenate this team right away. And I know a lot of those U23 players will be part of that. But they need to get younger. They had the second oldest team in Russia, and a lot of those guys, Memo Ochoa, Andres Guardado, are still around. Mexico needs to get young. Bringing in a 33-year-old forward might not be the best way to do that, but I don't think they have a choice. Their best young players, Antuna and et cetera, are in Japan. Their older players are rested. It opens that up for Chicharito, and not just Chicharito. I think you're probably going to see Efrain Alvarez as well.
Yeah, let's get to this list because it is a long list. I went through and tried to figure out who might be going to the Gold Cup, and we may have an argument about one or two of these. But we
definitely have an argument on one.
Yeah,
and I already know.
Yeah, and so when you go over the LA Galaxy roster, and I tried to get all of them, I bet the chat room can probably figure out somebody I missed whenever I was doing this because I was putting it together here sort of last minute. But if you look at the Gold Cup starts on July 10th, so coming up rather quickly, actually. The final is August 1st in Las Vegas. Kevin, you and I were talking about already sold out.
Sold out, 70,000. Boom,
yeah, gone. So that's gone. Here's the possibility.
Oh, by the way, we should say. This is one of the first time I did the math recently, but the first time in at least 2 decades that there will be no Gold Cup games played in California. No Rose Bowl, no Coliseum, no San Diego, no Santa Clara. It was because when they had to pick the Gold Cup stadiums, California had not decided to open up. We know now they're going to open up on June 15th.
Tomorrow.
I think CONCACAF made a huge mistake. I think they should have waited. It was coming. We all knew it was coming, but CONCACAF just couldn't wait. And now we're going to have full capacity stadiums, but the Rose Bowl is going to be empty. CONCACAF will be somewhere else. Santa Clara is going to be empty. CONCACAF will be something else. These are stadiums and cities that have been very good to the Gold Cup over the years. And I think the Gold Cup really made a big mistake by not coming here. We will have the final within driving distance, Las Vegas. That game is already sold out.
Yeah, sold out for that. And I think most people are expecting it to beat Mexico and the United States. But with these quote-unquote B teams that are going to be playing there, that's sort of maybe a little bit more up in the air than we saw it. Gold Cup starts July 10th. The final is August 1st in Las Vegas. That is a significant amount of time, 3.5 weeks, something like that, where you're going to be missing players if they go to the Gold Cup and if they progress into the latter stages.
And for the Galaxy, there's only a 10-day break. July 7th to the 17th.
That's it.
Is the only time they're off. So if anyone that gets called up this list you're going to go over, those guys are gone for most of that period.
This is what Greg Vanny was talking about. He wanted the depth coming into this stretch of games, being busy here in this next stretch before that little tiny break that the Galaxy have on the front end of the Gold Cup, and then sort of having to last throughout that. Here's who I have on the list of guys who could possibly be called up. We can argue about it after I'm done with the list. For the United States, Julian Araujo, Sebastian Lletget. Lletget's the one we're going to argue about. Mexico, Chicharito, Jonathan Dos Santos, Efrain Alvarez, maybe Dos Santos we can argue about. Costa Rica, Pipo Gonzalez. Jamaica, O'Neal Fisher. Honduras is Danny Acosta. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else in those Gold Cup in the CONCACAF region that I'm missing. And there may be one. I'm trying to think. What about Carlos Harvey? Where does Carlos Harvey
Yes,
play?
Carlos Harvey, Panama.
Panama. Okay, so that's another one that also could be going. Yeah, I was thinking. I'm like, wait a minute. Carlos Harvey has been on that list too. So Panama as well. So that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 possible absences. Now, let's talk about the ones that we're sort of Julian Araujo. We have sort of pegged Julian Araujo as a Gold Cup guy for a while here. He's not on the A team. We know that. He hasn't been called up in those situations. He's not on he's sort of in that in between of being on the cusp of being able to join and on the cusp of being able to do things. But we haven't seen that from him and whether or not he'll be called up. So we do expect him on this Gold Cup roster. What we have also as well, Chicharito. He's the one that we started talking about. We expect now that he's going to be gone. Jonathan Dos Santos, because he missed Nations League, because maybe he's not 100% in and locked in for that World Cup qualifiers, perhaps Jonathan Dos Santos is another one that we can talk about. Kevin, what do you think about Jonathan Dos Santos? I think we agree that that Julian Araujo is kind of a lock. Sebastian Lletget is up in the air, though, right?
Well, I don't think Sebastian gets called up. I think he's part of that A team. I mean, he's started, I think, 8 or 9 straight games now for the U.S. national team, and he's played 90 minutes in a lot of these. And my thought at the beginning was that he's holding place for Pulisic and those guys. Now he's playing with the A team, and he's starting, and he's playing a lot of minutes. I think he's a lock on the first team, and I don't think Greg Berhalter, he doesn't need to see any more of him. He knows what he's got. He doesn't want to tire him out. That 8 World Cup qualifiers in 2.5 months. And playing with your club team. I don't think Greg Berhalter needs to call Sebastian Lletget in. Jonathan Dos Santos is interesting, though. He was on the Mexican roster for Nations League and then was left off for an injury. Mexico has a couple more friendlies. They got one July 3rd at the Coliseum. I think Tata Martino wants to see Jonathan again. Now, whether he gets to see him on July 3rd or whether he has to call him into the Gold Cup could be one of those situations where he calls him in. Maybe he plays at the group stage and then he's sent back to the Galaxy. I do think Tata Martino wants to get a look at Jonathan Dos Santos, and my guess would be he gets called up somewhere between the start of World Cup qualifiers.
All right, Kevin, I got a question for you that came from one of our listeners, not Gold Cup related. Lewis gave us a $5 super chat, says, a question for Panda. Would you rather fight 10 duck-sized Joshes or 1 Josh-sized duck?
Oh, I think that the 1 Josh-sized duck, because the 10, you got to keep your eyes on where they're all coming from.
So you want to take the 1 Josh-sized? It's a quality question, especially with the Pato and the Panda. I agree. It's a very.
By the way, did you see the thing I sent out on Twitter? There is a radio station in El Salvador, Panda 95.
You should get a job there. You should get a job there. You should be a lock for that.
I've been inspiration for pop music in El Salvador.
I'm sure you have been. So getting back to that, So Araujo, yes, that seems a lock to me. I think Julian Araujo goes to the Gold Cup. That seems like the most likely destination for him. Sebastian Lletget is a question mark. I tend to agree with you, Kevin. I don't know that he'll get called in. I don't think they need to. It's just the fact that they're going to call in a whole bunch of MLS-based guys, and are you going to put Sebastian Lletget as sort of the leader on that team of those MLS-based guys to give him a chance? Because we know the United States still wants to make a showing in this Gold Cup, right? They don't want to lose the Gold Cup. They want to win the Gold Cup. But they're just going to do it without their roster.
And remember, the Gold Cup, at least in the past, I remember Bruce did this when he was coached the last Gold Cup. the Gold Cup has a rule where you can redo your roster between the group stage and the knockout stage. So you could either call in a bunch of young guys for the group stage, and then replace them with the good guys, the top players to win, or you could have the top players come in, like in Jonathan's case, come in, get a look at them, and then send them back before the real games start.
So if Leggett doesn't get called up, you have Araujo, you have Chicharito, Jonathan Dos Santos, maybe Efrain Alvarez. They've been looking at him. I think that's a real stretch for him, but I keep being proven wrong.
You cap tie him, though. It's a competitive game, so you cap tie him.
It would, and that is one of the reasons. That was also asked is by Patrick in the chat. Is Araujo cap tied yet? I don't know that he hasn't had his 3 games, has he?
Well, it depends. I mean, there is this weird FIFA thing where the Olympic trials was technically a competitive tournament. Yeah.
Okay, so then he's cap tied. Then if that's the case, Araujo is cap tied.
But was it a FIFA tournament? See, it's the FIFA rules are so bizarre with the Olympics.
Yeah, and I agree and understand. It's a good question, Patrick. I don't know that we have 100%. I think he is locked in, but I can't remember why I know that. And if not, then this would, because this official tournament would lock him in as well. So that's one of the things. So, getting Araujo in there. Then you go to Pipo Gonzalez, who did and play in Costa Rica's friendly against the United States. You have O'Neal Fisher, who was playing for Jamaica in their friendlies that they had over the international break. Danny Acosta has been getting occasional. Carlos Harvey has been getting calls into Panama. So, for the rest
I think Carlos Harvey just started in their World Cup qualifier not so long ago.
He may have, and I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, for me, he's a lock. I think he's gone as well. So look at this depth that you're going to have to replace, and I think it's good that I imagine that we're getting more and more of the final roster with Sega Coulibaly available for Saturday. Whenever we talked to Greg Vanny last week, he was good with that. And then Ryan Revelason, and that's not how we say his last name, but until he tells me how it is, I'll keep pronouncing it that way. Seems like, and I talked to the LA Galaxy today, they seem optimistic that he will be arriving this week. So Revelason coming in this week. That's the optimism in there. I don't know if that's realistic optimism or if it's more, Greg Vanny doing the same thing that he was doing, which is sort of like, I mean, we got to get this guy in by now, right? That sort of seems to think. So I imagine.
So we're probably going to see 3 French players on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that Coulibaly is going to start in place of Derek Williams. I imagine that Cabral is starting. I would imagine that Grand Sur is starting, even though he didn't start the last game, but he was coming off a little bit of a knock. So, I mean, all of those things seem very likely to have 3 French players starting for the LA Galaxy coming up on Saturday. So, very interesting. I think the depth is really going to be challenged in these next, month. The schedule gets ridiculously tight here, coming pretty fast.
Well, and that opens opportunities for a lot of guys who need opportunities. A guy like a Cameron Dunbar, I mean, he could really kind of carve out a little niche for himself. There are some guys that we've seen flashes of, just not enough minutes to really prove themselves. Greg Vanny's probably going to have little choice but to play some of these guys, at least off the bench, and it's going to be an opportunity for them to show themselves.
Yeah, but it's also for an opportunity for the LA Galaxy to stumble, right? Because we have this 5-2 start the LA Galaxy are off to. One of the better starts in their history, although we should continue to point out that 2019, Kevin, was better than this start.
Yeah. So this is their second best start in a decade.
Yeah, which is an amazing feat, but at the same time, it's early in the season, basically, is what we're trying to say with a lot of this stuff.
And let's put this in context. Only one of the 7 teams the Galaxy played to start the season has a winning record right now. That's Seattle. They're undefeated. The others all have, as far as I looked this up earlier, unless I'm mistaken and missed something, they all have losing records at this point. But the Galaxy now are going to play 5 games they're going to average a game every 3.5 days. They're going to play 5 games. I think it's 18 days. And 3 of them are against Seattle. They start with Seattle. They also play Sporting Kansas City. It's second in the conference, has a winning record. And San Jose, what a lot of people think is a playoff contender. So they, and I know they've already played San Jose, but so they got off to a great start, but the quality of the opposition wasn't that great. Now they all of a sudden have a lot of games in a short amount of time with no rest, and 3 of the teams are playoff teams. So this will be a real test for the Galaxy. And as you said, the last 2 games are going to be after the Gold Cup starts, so they're going to be missing some of their better players.
Well, before we completely abandon international duty, I wanted to get a little bit more onto Augie Williams, who's away with Sierra Leone. being called up to their national team, was actually named in the starting lineup in a replay game today. I think it was Benin is how you pronounce it, and it might be Benin, but another country in Africa they're playing against in a group basically that has Nigeria, Benin, Sierra Leone, and Lesotho. And Sierra Leone, if they win this game, has a chance to qualify for the African Cup of Nations, right? And so this is a big deal. This game was mandated to be replayed after it was already played because Benin had some curious COVID-19 tests, right? And we say curious as in, curious as in maybe they aren't real results. I think Benin had a bunch of players test positive just before the game and ended up not being able to play. And then today in the quote-unquote replayed match, it got suspended again. They didn't play. And the reason they didn't play is that there were a whole bunch of COVID-19 positives on the Sierra Leone side. Now, in this particular case, Kevin, all of these seem to be bogus COVID-19 results, at least from the arguments coming from the players and from the people who are sort of keeping an eye on this thing.
Yeah, like Augie Williams. I mean, it sounds like the GOP reaction to the presidential election. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
we don't like that result. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean, Augie Williams tweeted out this morning. He said, "This morning our results came in and everybody was cleared to play because, again, everybody was negative from yesterday's COVID-19 test." So they had a COVID-19 test yesterday. Then they had another COVID-19 test where they got the results this morning. The results came back and everybody was negative because they already knew that. They were sort of like, yeah, it's no surprise. So in the morning, everybody's cleared to play. Then 20 to 30 minutes, Kevin, before the kickoff, and everybody's warming up, 8 people are COVID-19 positive, right? And so Augie Williams is saying, come on now, where do they get these fake results? This again, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, Kevin, if it wasn't for, when you look at the previous game that got replayed, even Africa, the ruling body, right, CAF in Africa, said that they had to replay the game because the results were questionable in this case.
Well, and I mean, COVID has not gone away. I mean, we feel much better about our situation here, but Venezuela has 10 players that are COVID positive. They're playing in Copa America. And by the way, there are 17 MLS players playing in Copa America. The largest contingent is with Venezuela. People like Josef Martinez are playing there, Junior Moreno. Those players are all coming back to the U.S. when Copa America ends. And they've been in a COVID positive environment with the Venezuelan national team. And then in Brazil, which is a place where COVID's going wild. So, this hasn't gone away. I do think that a lot of this stuff in Africa certainly sounds fishy. I know you said that the CAF, the Confederation of African Football, is sort of in charge of this, but I think the individual countries are the ones doing the testing, the COVID testing, and checking the results. This seems like one of those things where FIFA might have to sort of step in and say, we're going to take over this. This doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it is. Just to add to sort of Augie Williams' long trek with Sierra Leone, it was reported yesterday that Sierra Leone's national team were held by Ghanaian border police for over 12 hours yesterday. So before they played the game, as they're on their bus going to Benin, they were stopped for over 12 hours. They allegedly lacked the COVID-19 test and were denied entry into the country. And so, there's pictures of these guys standing outside in the bus. There's guys sleeping on the side of the road, basically waiting for the test to come in so that way they could go ahead and cross into the border. So it has not been an easy time for Augie Williams on international break. And if we're keeping an eye on all the international players for the LA Galaxy, his story and what is going on right here is probably one of the most interesting ones going on. So we'll try to continue to sort of follow that. There was no game today. They did not play, from what I understand. And so now they're going to have to figure out. This is a game that basically shows Sierra Leone in 5th place. They have 4 points to Benin's 7 points, but if they win, then that would mean that they could possibly jump into 2nd place with goal differential, and qualify for Africa Cup of Nations. So it is a big deal to Sierra Leone, who's really trying to push for this, and do that. I think there's some other MLSers or former MLSers who also play on Sierra Leone as well. And for whatever reason, it's escaping my mind, but I thought it was just a really interesting sort of story to follow with Augie Williams.
And this is a horrible thing. If you're a fan of international football and you want to see Africa rise, as a soccer power, and I'm not just talking about the players. We know the players are great. I mean, Look at the Premier League; it's full of African players. But the organization, I mean, they need to develop soccer there. They need to have some major tournaments. They need the investment. They need the TV money. They need all those things that come from hosting these tournaments. And this kind of stuff is not going to help them. I mean, even touring teams are not going to go there if they're going to be subjected to this kind of monkey business and this kind of ridiculous treatment. That's why I think FIFA needs to step in and say, no, you can't do this. If you have agreed to host the tournament, there are protocols in place.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. All right, so we go on, and the one game that was being played this weekend there was one MLS game. They had to play one game for whatever reasons. It was scheduled. It was going to happen. And so basically it went through. It was Sporting Kansas City hosted Austin to a 1-1 draw, which is a big deal for the LA Galaxy. If we look at those Western Conference standings, we can sort of see Kansas City sitting there at 17 points, 2 points ahead of the LA Galaxy at 15. With a win, Kansas City really does sort of press up and into that argument with Seattle about sort of where they're at and trying to continue their step up there. But now with that draw, that leaves Kansas City with 17 points on 9 games played. The Galaxy have 2 games in hand, are just 2 points behind. So this really does put the LA Galaxy in a position to jump forward, to tie Seattle by beating Seattle on Saturday, and to leap over Kansas City, at least momentarily, because I think Kansas City also still plays this weekend. Whenever I was looking, I think it's a full slate this weekend as well. So when you look at that, the Kansas City at 1.89 points per game right now, Seattle with 2.25 points per game, and the LA Galaxy at 2.14 points per game. The Galaxy have the second best points per game in the Western Conference right now, and that really doesn't change all that much whenever you go into the Supporters Shield. The LA Galaxy, outside of Seattle, have the second best points per game total out of any team, slightly ahead of New England right now, who has 2.13 points, Galaxy at 2.14 points.
Who's New England's coach?
I think, yeah, you may have heard of him. He says he played goalkeeper, but we don't really believe that. He was more of a lacrosse guy, and he was kind of angry most of the time. You've heard of him.
Bruce Arena's one career national team start or appearance. You know who it was against?
No,
Israel. He played one game against Israel. One other piece of MLS news. I don't know. Maybe you talked about this on the show last week, but. MLS All-Star Game coming to Southern California, August 25th. Just the second time. Well, we don't include San Diego, but the MLS All-Star Game, this will be the 25th game. Only one other time played in LA County. It was played at then Home Depot back in 2003. MLS All-Stars against Chivas. Mm-hmm. They've used, I think, 4 or 5 different formats. The format this time is going to be MLS All-Stars against the Liga MX All-Stars.
Yeah, it should be fun. I've already instructed anybody who, and this has been a long-standing policy of this podcast, so this is nothing new, that if you really care about your team, that you go find your rivals and vote for all of them on the All-Star Game, because why would you want another meaningless game in the middle of a ridiculous stretch of games to put your guys through? So,
well, and it's even worse because it's good and bad. It comes 3 days before one of the El Traficos, which is interesting because you're going to probably have Vela and Chicharito being buddy, and then they got to go after each other.
Well, and
3 days later,
and you have Bob Bradley coaching LA Galaxy players. A mere 3 days before they play in an El Trafico game.
Yeah, a lot of them are playing 90 minutes. I'm sure. Sebastian and But the other thing, I talked to John Thornton, who's the general manager at LAFC, and I said the timing of this game seems ridiculous. August 25th. Not only do you have the Trafico coming up, but right after that El Trafico, which is August 28th, you're going to have players called up to World Cup qualifying. Clearly, their focus is on that World Cup qualifier, not on El Trafico even, certainly not on a meaningless exhibition. And I asked John Thornton, why would you as a general manager allow any of your players, if they were going to go to a World Cup qualifier, why would you allow them to play in that game? But why would Greg Berhalter allow Sebastian Lletget, for example, to go? Why wouldn't he try to stop that? And John Thornton said, look, this is just nothing more than another practice. These guys aren't going to go hard. It's just sort of a meaningless game, which if we write that on the 25th, we're going to get yelled at by Commissioner Garber, right? Meaningless game. That's what Thornton's saying. It's a meaningless game. It's a practice session. It's no big deal. Man, I don't know. If you got a guy like Chicharito or Sebastian Lletget that have a little bit of skin in the game versus Mexico, and all of a sudden the game's getting a little tight, maybe you're trying pressing for a goal. I don't know. If I were Greg Berhalter, I would say none of my national team players can go to that game.
It's an opportunity for people to get injured. I mean, and you can say that about any time anybody walks out on the field, right? We say that about training is an opportunity for somebody to get injured. You can say that about, walking to your car is an opportunity to get injured. Didn't Rolf Felcher fall on a ball and like tear his tricep muscle or something like that? Any of these things can happen at any time. And I think it's a little nerve-wracking to see this. I mean, we've seen exhibition games end people's careers. Everybody remembers Leko Eskandarian, who was playing with the LA Galaxy and got a concussion, I think, was it the AC Milan game? The LA Galaxy were playing AC Milan at then Home Depot Center, probably. And he had a concussion. That was it. He never played again. I mean, that was his last game. So there's always the chance of that. So we'll see how that sort of goes. I have a feeling that, there's going to be a fan vote. I know there's going to be a fan vote. I know that some of these players are definitely going to be on there kind of regardless of how well they play or don't play. And then the coaches are going to backfill them. Because it's in LA, I have a feeling that the two LA teams are going to be the backfillers the most on this. And that should worry Galaxy fans. I would be worried for that. I don't like the extra game for no reason. And this is an extra game for no reason.
Well, my favorite sports injury of all time was in a legitimate game. It was a baseball player back in the day, the old days, the dead ball era. It was a guy with false teeth, and he would take his false teeth out when he went to bat, and he'd put them in his back pocket. Well, he hit a double, and sliding into second base, he bit himself in the butt and had to go on the disabled list. My favorite sports injury of all time. Come on, that's a good one.
I don't know if I can approve of that or not. But yeah, I mean that is at least it's special. It's something.
John Smoltz allegedly hurt himself once when he ironed a shirt that he was wearing.
But we've all done the old man injury, right? Where like you're laying in. I hurt myself stretching in bed one morning. I was laying in bed and I was like, oh, let me just stretch it out. And I like popped something in my neck, and that was it. I was out for the whole day. I wasn't moving. It wasn't going to happen. It was all cramped up. My shoulder was, up to my ear, and it wasn't going to relax until at least a day. So we've all done that stupid little thing, here and there, doing stuff. I once hurt my leg doing the shot put, Kevin, because that makes sense, right? You're supposed to throw the shot put. So, yeah. Who knows? Let's get to the LA Galaxy throwing a tailgate coming up on June 19th. So the game on
Speaking
June
of
19th,
injuries.
Yeah, on June 19th, this is in conjunction with the return to a full capacity stadium, which, by the way, I don't think, and I've sort of been gauging ticket sales and where tickets are and the whole thing, I don't think this is going to sell out this Saturday. And I think there's probably a couple reasons why that, most of which is there's a bunch of people who are not ready to come back to the stadium, which I completely understand. Kevin, you and I were talking about that.
Yeah. Well, I know Sarah and Carrie Hall, the longtime season ticket holders, big fans of the show and huge fans of the Galaxy. They're probably going to be there. I haven't talked to them specifically about this game. They've been to the last couple. They're probably going to be there. But what they told me is they love being back in the stadium. They love seeing the Galaxy again. They love the whole experience. They're just not sure if they want people sitting within elbow, touching on both sides of them. They're not quite sure they're ready for a full row yet. And you know what? I'm with them. I get it. I'm fully vaccinated. I was tested multiple times in El Salvador. I know I don't have COVID, so knock on wood.
Those were IQ tests, Kevin. They kept coming back negative.
That's right. Exactly. They were reaching to the brain and didn't. Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, I feel safe from a health perspective, but it's been 15 months since we've been packed in with people. And it's, if you're a fan out there and you're trying to decide whether you want to go or not, don't be macho. If you're uncomfortable, don't go. The Galaxy will be there. Couple of months from now, you can come back. If you're a little bit anxious and have a little bit of anxiety about sitting back in a crowd where people again are touching you on both elbows, that's fine. You don't have to come. I feel the same way. The Galaxy will be there when you're ready, and I do think you're right. I do think there are a lot of people that are uncomfortable, and there are a lot of others that just say, "Fine, I'm ready to get back." The crowds are great. I personally, as a fan, would not, again, feel comfortable in a full row. I liked when it was like a third full. That to me was fun. Yeah. The full row might get a few people.
Here's the thing, and I'll preface this. I'll give you a little personal experience, and I'll preface as well. We're supposed to hear what the rules are for people entering the stadium, being inside the stadium, doing all that stuff. We're supposed to hear that and what's going on, I believe, Tuesday. It was either going to be Monday or Tuesday. It was supposed to be early this week. I would imagine that Tuesday is still in the early this week. Wednesday is the middle of the week. That's not early anymore. So Tuesday seems like the day where we're going to hear what the rules are. Vicky
Mercado will take care of you, guaranteed.
Vicky has been doing an amazing job. So I have
the new PR chief for it's night and day, the difference, the cooperation that we're getting and getting interview requests and all that. Vicky Mercado is doing an amazing job. And so if there are information to be disseminated, Vicky's going to do it. She'll take care of you, Josh. Just calm down.
I'm 100% sure you are correct. So so she will. We're supposed to get that out. The Galaxy is supposed to release that. We're going to know. And I don't know what they're going to require. You know, the CDC recommendation right now is that people who are vaccinated don't have to wear masks even outdoors, but there have been some exceptions for large events, such as sporting events, about whether or not everybody would be required to wear masks. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. And so we sort of have to feel that out. I will tell you, I was in Maryland. I was in North Carolina. Those are very open states, as in you sort of decide whether or not you want to wear a mask into places. Everybody has a little thing on their door, and it says, the CDC recommends that if you are fully vaccinated, if you aren't fully vaccinated, that you should wear a mask. That's what the sign says. It doesn't say you mandated to. It doesn't say any of that stuff. So, I was out. I was mixing around with people. We wore masks because we had a bunch of kids with us that also still had to wear masks. And it was one of those where I'm like, I'm not going to make my kid wear a mask, and then I'm going to be like, I'm fine. Whole deal. I want them to feel comfortable with all that stuff. But certainly there were some times where it was, I went on a tour of an old mansion. And there was no social distancing. There was no masks. Everybody was just sort of hanging out, and we were doing our thing. And there was only like 7 people, but still inside next to people, Kevin, it makes you feel a little uncomfortable sometimes. So, I'd say that if you get out there and you feel uncomfortable, that's fine. You don't need to be there. As you said, Kevin, the Galaxy will wait for you. I also think that you should get out and experience as much as you can, in as safe a way as possible, that you want to do it as well. So, you sort of have to take those little bites.
Another thing, let's say you have a good ticket, a season ticket, you're in a full row. Hey, if you're comfortable with a mask, wear a mask. Don't buy into the pressure from your neighbors. Another thing is, if you get a surge of anxiety, my guess is if it's not full, there's going to be room up on the berm. Just go sit up on the berm. Yeah,
we'll see if that's even open. I don't know that they've said it's open. I would imagine it is, but yeah, it'll be one of those things that we watch, Kevin, as we go forward. But yeah, so that's where it is. The schedule is going to be kind of fun for this weekend. If you are ready to be back, and as we said, the 15th, we're supposed to get the announcements of most things reopening. If you're ready, the schedule is this on June 19th, 12 p.m. Dignity Health Sports Park parking gates will open between 12 and 5:30 p.m. The Welcome Home Tailgate presented by Modelo. That's the LA Galaxy's tailgate. And between 4 and 4:45, that's a special performance by LA artist and Galaxy supporter Mrs. The game is a 6 p.m. kickoff. It's actually 6:08 p.m. LA Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders. Game is on Spectrum Sportsnet. And here's some fun little, it's not really breaking news. It's my own show, so it's not really breaking news. Is that on Thursday night, I will be joined as my co-host by Spectrum Sideline Sports reporter Nikki K. will be filling in co-host, as we have a whole bunch of people out of town and doing some different things. So Nikki's going to be joining us ahead of Spectrum's first game this year. Kevin, how many games 7 games, and this is the first one that's on Spectrum.
Well, you dumped some big coin to book her, didn't you?
I had to beg and plead and do all the nice things, but Nikki is amazing. She played soccer, and she has been, I think, at almost every game, which, if just sort of comparing different things, usually if Spectrum's not doing a game, you don't have people from Spectrum there watching the game. Kelby and Joe Chitino obviously are exceptions to that. But Nikki has dove first thing. She's ready. She's rock and rolling. She asks great questions in all the press conferences. Everybody seems to like her. So, and I've met her. She's amazing. And by the way, I was a fan of hers before I even knew she was a Spectrum, because we watched Spectrum News in the morning, and I would see her as a thing. So yeah, absolutely. Nikki will be on Thursday, and I'm excited.
Nikki, if you're listening, look, I get 5 figures for this. Make sure you don't sign for a penny less.
Yeah, 5 figures. They're all zeros, but definitely 5 figures.
They're figures.
That's right. That's how it goes. All right. So that's what will come up on Thursday. Is Nikki K will be my special guest host for that game ahead of the 6:08 p.m. kickoff time on Spectrum Sportsnet. Hopefully you're there at the stadium. I know you can get tickets if you want tickets, so that is something to sort of keep in mind. If you want to go, people are selling tickets. Also, there are tickets available if you just want to go on the LA Galaxy website, that as well. So we'll see everybody there. And I always like a 6 p.m. kickoff. That's a relatively early, but still in the afternoon. I can break away. My wife isn't going to murder me for abandoning the child and doing stuff. So it'll be a perfect time.
And it ends in the night. I mean, it ends in the day rather. It's that the lights haven't taken effect yet.
Yeah, you'll get that. And then Father's Day is the next day. So see, you still have time to do all the stuff. So this is a great game that's sort of lining up. And of course, on Thursday, we're going to have a full preview of that and get you built up. The LA Galaxy schedule is that there will be media availability on Wednesday. So Wednesday around noon plus give or take 30 or 45 minutes. That'll be whenever we have the that media availability with Greg Vanny and quote unquote selected players.
That's always good.
That's always good. It's always nice that they select somebody for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see who that is.
Well, last time
Mercado will get us somebody awesome.
Last time we had Atari, and he was great. He was really funny.
Sega.
And he insisted on doing it in English.
Sega. I'm going to tell him eventually. I'm going to tell him that you call him Atari, and I hope he turns your Manchester City blue car a different color. That's all I'm saying. I would appreciate that.
Maybe he'll give me a Sega game console.
I don't think he has that. I don't think he's the one who has any. I would love that would be the case, but no.
I thought he was president of the company. I thought that was the whole name thing.
He is, and we talked about this on Thursday, but so much fun to talk to. I enjoyed it so much, and it's rare. Listen, we do this all the time. It's exciting and it's fun. I don't want to act like we're jaded. Kevin, you and I love talking to people who play sports or people who tell jokes or people who do television shows or stuff like that. It's fun. It's a fun thing to sort of dive into their world for a little bit, ask them some questions, have a little interaction, maybe get a fun answer from them that you feel like you did your part that day.
Didn't he feel like one of the players from Richmond AFC?
Yeah.
Didn't he feel like one of Ted Lasso's players?
He did. By the way, there is breaking Ted Lasso news. I believe that they are releasing fully official AFC Richmond kits that are coming out soon. I think is it Universal or is it? I forget who does the actual show behind Apple TV, because Apple TV doesn't. They just buy it. Yeah, they just buy it. So somebody made it behind it. So it might have been Universal who's actually does that show and then sells it to Apple TV. But wherever it is, we will find that and we'll be able to retweet that.
July 23rd, second season starts, and name dropping time. I will be talking to Jason Sudeikis between now and then.
Oh my goodness, you lucky guy!
Yes.
You. That's good. Wait, I'm still hopeful we can abuse your contacts to get somebody from on this show. So
I have been asking them, and when I went to Apple TV for the press junket, and I said who I wanted to talk to, and they said, "Would you be open to talking to the whole cast?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely. Anybody you want to put in front of me." And then I reminded them that they promised us someone for the podcast.
That's right.
So we will get some Roy Kent. I don't know, maybe Coach.
Could we get everybody? Could we get everybody in one group call, and then that'll just
would be great.
You will just retire after that. That'll be it. If you're playing the home game, which I imagine we're out of time here, so I want to get this last thing before we move on. If you're playing the home game and you heard me talking about the possibility of a live show coming up in July, as in an in-person live show podcast at a brewery, then just put a little pin by July 31st. I'm not saying it's going to happen, all right, but I'm just saying that is at least a date we are targeting, and it could happen, mostly because Kevin will be out of town.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know where I'm going to be, Josh? That's interesting that I'm home 50 weeks out of the year, but there's 1-2 week period I'm gone, and that's when Josh decides to do this. Again,
I will tell you this, that I know the phone works this time, so you can call in from the Olympics, which is where you're going to be during that time. You can call in from the Olympics, and we could get you on that. But it might be, early in the morning. I don't remember. We were trying to do the math, and it was like, it might work. You never know.
But this will be at a brewer, a place that serves adult beverages.
Adult beverages. Yeah, this is the place we did it last time when you weren't here.
Right, and likely the show hosts get comped, and once again, I will be paying for my own beer.
I was
Or
gonna
of
say,
Japan.
I was going to say, first of all, Sapporo is a great beer, so I would pay for that because I enjoy drinking that with my sushi. Maybe that's a total white person thing to say is like, oh, I love Sapporo. Maybe all the Japanese are like, that's like Bud Light and it's horrible, but I like Sapporo whenever I'm eating sushi.
It's actually Japanese for Bud Light.
Bud Light, yeah, I'm sure what it is. That, and last time I will say that the place did not comp me, but our lovely listeners made sure that I did not go wanting. So yes, it'll be fine. But that's a 40th birthday party / podcast / everything. So we'll give you more details. I have to lock it down. I just want you all to know. I don't want you to say I didn't give you a warning. So July 31st, sometime that afternoon, right now is when we're shooting for. That could change.
Is that your birthday? Is that actually your birthday day, July 31st?
No, my birthday day is the same day that Ted Lasso comes out, which is July 23rd.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And it's going to be 40.
At 40, I'm 40.
The big
years old.
40. I went on a cruise for my 40th birthday, somehow doing a live show, although the free beer is enticing, but
I guarantee I will have more fun at my live podcast than you did on your cruise. I don't know why you'd want to go on those Petri dishes anyway, but hey, that's all up to you. So anyways, that's where we're sitting. That's where it is. Really, we don't have too much more information. It's a quiet week. We'll get more updates on Wednesday, and then we'll have that live show on Thursday for the game on Saturday. So that should all line up with everything. Full capacity.
Derek Williams still suspended.
Derek Williams.
No change there.
Yep, no changes there. I told everybody last time on the Thursday show that MLS actually and the disciplinary committee actually wanted to suspend him for more games. So we talked about that. That would be something I want to dig in a little bit with Greg Vanney. It's just like the time's kind of passed now. Was there an appeal process that got that down? How did they want 8 but they didn't get it? So it's again, there's no transparency.
What's your over under on the crowd Saturday?
22,000.
Wow, I was close. I'm saying 23,645.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
give or take
a little bit. Yeah, I think 22 is right around where I think it is. So, so that's where it is. We'll have everything sort of set up next week. That's where it is. Again, live show Thursday night, 8 p.m. Nikki K from Spectrum Sportsnet is going to be my co-host on that one. Hopefully, we can make all the technology work. And
you were going to take questions. Questions came in?
Well, one, I answered a couple of them.
Okay.
And 2 is we're out of time. It's time to go. I want to go.
Closing time. I hate closing time.
How
about a road beer? Got a road beer?
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. That's what they say in the song. I remember. All right. So that's where we are. So anything else, Kevin? You good? We can start moseying on.
I want to keep going, but if you insist on leaving, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say it's over. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin Baxter on Twitter, it's at KBaxter11. Head on over to LATimes.com where you can find all of Kevin's wonderful articles over there at LA Times covering the Olympics, covering surfing, covering soccer, certainly here in Southern California. So make sure you check him out, LATimes.com. If you're looking for me on Twitter, at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. We'll be getting you ready for that game on Saturday. All right, full capacity Saturday, Seattle Sounders. Live show Thursday night. We'll see you then. For Kevin the Panda Baxter, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo. And on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.